never come back, and they're never going to come back. Solar and wind are the cheapest forms of electricity available today. We don't need an energy transition in Houston. We need an energy revolution. And that only happens when we have policymakers willing to bring federal dollars here to make sure that the Houston of 2040 and 2050 is not going to be the Houston of 1980. This is 2024. We have to start thinking forward. And I'm proud, as someone who has an extensive background in renewable energy, to bring more jobs to Houston that are clean energy focused. And anybody that works in oil should not be worried about losing their jobs. We have to build alternative jobs that allow people to be proud of what they're doing. And quite frankly, we have to leave the oil in the ground. We have to have bans on drilling and fracking. Humanity, if it's going to progress, if humanity is to progress, we have to stop burning fossil fuels. It's a clear imperative. We should not be shy. We should not be scared that the oil lobby is going to come after us. Quite frankly, that's a good thing.
And these are all great points, and you bring a lot of solutions on not just the federal level, but for Houston on its own. There is, I guess, already, several progressives in the office, the squad, people who may be progressive on an issue basis, reproductive rights and various other issues. But there's always that, I guess, battle between the corporate Democrats and basically the entire Republican Party. There's always that battle of, hey, how do we get the votes? How do we make sure that we are putting effective bills and effective legislation? There seems to be a lot of barriers in place, especially with everybody in everybody on the corporate side of politics. They could wear a NASCAR jersey essentially for how many corporate sponsors that they have. So how do we push those individuals in Congress to basically side with you on the issues?
So I think two things. First, we don't live in a society where there's two parties. I don't believe in the two-party system. We live in a corporatocracy. It's a one-party system. The same corporations, the same lobby groups are funding both sides of the aisle. If you look right now, AIPAC is funded by Republican MAGA billionaires, and they're funding Democrats in primaries against me, like my opponent. This is absurd. It's absurd we live in a system where the same money from the same corporations funds both sides. This isn't a two-party country, it's a one-party country. And that one party is lobbyist money. It's billionaire money, it's corporate money, and it's going to both sides, right? So number two, it's acknowledging that as the truth and realizing a win like this takes one digit off from the corporate side. And we're not anti-corporations, remember that. We're anti the way their money influences politics. And it adds one for the Ethical Progressive Caucus. Now, what's really important to recognize is, I've been an organizer my whole life, and for the work I did in solar farms in Nebraska and Texas and Oklahoma, it's all about people. And I think you have to energize people. If you look right now, we're stuck between Biden and Trump as the two nominees. But there's a sentiment in America where people are feeling disenfranchised and they realize the system's broken. If you look at polling, 80% of Americans want universal health care. 80% want paid family leave. Almost 72% think money is influencing politics too much. That's like a super majority, right? The American person, whether they identify as red or blue, we're agreeing on the same things. The polling for term limits, the polling for clean elections is just the same. What we have to do is get more people elected who are willing to shun the status quo, fight the establishment back, and our numbers go up. So my job isn't just to get in and put bills that Republicans will never sign. No, my job is to help find more people, and so is your job, that can get people mobilized across a message that ends corruption and helps the people. So it's not about working across aisles. I'm sorry, you can't work with a Republican Party that is headed by Donald Trump and by Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell. Right? And you also can't work with the Democratic Party headed by Chuck Schumer. I mean, oh my God, look at his stances on Israel. Right? It's about getting in and putting pressure and allowing the next generation to lead. Because I don't think this country will change as long as those people are at the top. So we get in and we put pressure and we organize and we build our numbers.
So you have a very important election coming up, and there's a lot of important dates. To kind of close things off,